certainly is. Good morning, good morning, good morning. News Radio 830 KHVH, 7:10 in the morning. Very good morning to the brothers in studio. Start with Brother Steve. Good morning to you.
Rick, good morning. Always happy and grateful to be here with you and your listeners together again.
Here we are. I love it, love it. Brother Nick, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thanks again for having us.
Thank you very much for taking the time. And ladies and gentlemen, the triumphant return.
Back, baby.
President Donald Trump's official nominee to be the emissary to Thailand, the Philippines, in conjunction with various law enforcement agencies in said countries, Mark Cricchio.
Hey, happy Monday, everyone.
Wow.
It's been a minute.
It has been.
It's good to be back.
Any chance I could get some of your miles to upgrade to business class when I travel in February?
I got quite a few now.
Yeah, I think so. Listen, we have a lot on the agenda, but I want to thank you boys very much. We're in a new month. It's already December. I'm hopeful and prayerful you all had great Thanksgiving holidays, but we're back. And want to start off, I'm going to go around the table. I have my things, but I want to go to you first. And I'm going to start with Brother Nick because he's the most handsome and he's the closest. But top of mind as we begin the SHOPO Hour, Brother Nick, what will be top of mind with you today?
Well, for Thanksgiving, I worked a double shift on Thanksgiving Eve and a double shift on Thanksgiving night due to short staffing in the divisions. So, unfortunately, we did have two traffic fatalities, one on Thanksgiving Eve and one on Thanksgiving night. So, despite the efforts that we tried, to make the public aware of the dangers, unfortunately, we had two people pass on the roadways that night. So, thank you for the opportunity to speak about it last week. But we did have some incidents.
Yesterday on the Community Matters program, I talked with Shonda Park, Exec Director, Safe Ride Hawaii. And our focus was not only on the service this nonprofit provides, but just over and over again, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And the tragedy is that Shonda shared about her daughter, who was a victim of a drunk driver. And I'm telling you, not a dry eye in the house because of the loss this family has suffered. And thank you for the great patrolling and ensuring that if people are out there doing this, at least there's a degree of consequence. And I'm praying people just don't do it. Brother Steve.
Rick, you'll take the show where you take it. But just to piggyback off what Nick was saying, I work in Waikiki now. I work night watch. The officers that I work with, we arrest every single night at least one impaired driver on that shift. And that shift goes from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. At least one impaired driver on that shift. In urban Honolulu, where we used to be at D1, people still, Rick, they enjoy adult beverages and they still get behind the wheel. And Nick didn't go into it too much. I know there's some confidentiality. I was working that night that Nick responded to that call up on the viaduct, and that's D5, and I looked in the CADs. And what I was reading in the CADs was actually horrific. The traffic fatality that Nick and his team responded to was probably some of the most gruesome things that I was reading because, officers give updates to dispatch. We all have to communicate with each other. And it was really shocking what had occurred. I was empathetic to the officers responding to that. I was empathetic to all first responders going to that scene because what I was reading, you can't unsee what was on the print. I was reading it and I was having a moment. And that's just the job that those folks do in VHS. They're a special group of people. But, Rick, again, we implore people, you do it on the program, please do not drink and drive. Definitely don't get on a motorcycle.
Ugh.
Definitely don't do that. So that Rick was top of mind to me when Nick brought that up. The team that he works with are really outstanding at what they do. These individuals come out, they do a full-on investigation, they deal with the coroner, they're really top-notch at what they do to try to piece together what occurred up there.
Yeah, I can. That's the one thing I hope that we're successful in doing is projecting the reality of what drunk driving can cause.
Yeah, Rick, and if you think motorcycle, semi-truck. Motorcycle and a semi-truck.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is News Radio 830 KHVH. We'll dovetail on this in a moment. Brother Mark, your thoughts?
Well, we'll just stay on the subject because if someone out there is listening and listens to us and we save that life, it's worth it. So let's stay on this subject. There's no reason to get behind the wheel, especially nowadays. You have Uber, you got Lyft, you got taxi, right? There's even a taxi company that will come and get you and your car, bring you home. And put this in perspective. Let's say that taxi company comes and it costs you $500, which it won't.
Right.
You're still ahead of the game.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, and then you alluded to you had the victims. I mean, the public has no idea what these poor victims are going through. The heartache, So,
when she started, because I asked her the question, and I didn't mean to be, and I told her up front, I said, if you don't mind, and please, but would you mind sharing about Azalea and the person she was so we can get to know her a little bit better. I've been doing this in total almost 50 years in broadcasting. This was one of the most emotional moments on the air I've ever had. I'm going back to 9/11. I'm going back to other momentous periods of time. What she was emoting was just pure grief.
Mm-hmm.
Pure grief. And you could feel it. And I think to myself, just because some idiot was selfish, making a choice that was clearly wrong one, this family will never be the same. And it's the most controllable thing. That's what pisses me off about this. You have control. All you have to do is think about others and not yourself and prevent these things from happening and happening to you, let alone someone else.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing, and thank you, Nick, for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you. If I just one last thing.
Sure.
So, when it comes to control, it's not necessarily just making the decision to operate a motor vehicle after you've had a few drinks. It's also how you operate the vehicle even when you're sober. And so I don't want to draw any conclusions about the two accidents that happened on those 2 nights. The investigation is still ongoing, and we can't make any hard fact analysis conclusions at this moment. We're still investigating them. But at the same time, how you drive, sober or not, is often it can result in accidents as well. So
very true. So while we're chatting, and what Steve was saying about reading, I was trying to follow along with you, and when you said semi-truck and a motorcycle, first thing I thought of was, oh God. Second was those who respond to this. Of us to appreciate and empathize and understand that the role of our officers and first responders to scenes like these, I'm not the guy. And I would never unsee, and I'd have I don't even know what the hell I do. It's that traumatic in my mind. So for you to be in the field and have to contend and do so professionally, willingly, and obviously with the great detail necessary, that's one of the reasons why I admire officers, because I try to understand what the impact of your job is on your lives and your families. And I'm just prayerful that others will do the same. Mark?
Yeah, so exactly what you just said. These officers, they go to these brutal and gruesome scenes, and okay, so when they finish their shift, it's not like a key, you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
and so I don't think the public realizes that.
Yeah.
So.
Steve?
Rick, HFD, EMS, the county PDs, you see those kind of things, and I think it's just like anybody that was in military service, that was in combat. You, in your own way, have to find some way to decompress, and we've talked about that on a couple of shows. Hopefully the way you choose to decompress is healthy, right? But obviously there's alcohol, tobacco, and but yeah, I've been doing this a minute, and when I was reading the CAD form from dispatch as to what updates were being given by the officers that were first responding on that scene, even I had a moment of, okay, well, that's people are gonna remember that kind of stuff. But don't feel sorry for us. It's what we signed up to do. I'm just simply highlighting that first responders need to find a way to process that as healthy as possible, so it registers and they do their job. We do our job, but then that it's somehow able to just kind of goes out the other end, so to speak, through hopefully exercise, whatever you do to kind of decompress. And I would say that first responders probably value life and relationships a little bit better than most, because we realize pretty quickly that things can change in an instant.
Amen. Absolutely. You're on the SHOPO Hour. It is 7:23 already, and I want to thank you for leading us off.
Thank you.
For myself, it was a message I received yesterday, and then the news picked up the coverage of Miske dying in our federal detention facility over by the airport. I would like to turn it to you, not necessarily for breaking news or to share, but the impact of Michael Miske on this community, named a crime czar, and in your experiences, what he meant to the committing of crime, the advocacy of crime, and the myriad of crimes that he is associated with, and now that he's gone, what that should mean to all of us. Anybody like to lead off? Brother Mark?
So when I heard the news, I thought of one word.
I know.
And I said, good.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah. And I'm going to tell you why. And for all your listeners. And for any people that are listening and like, you have to show compassion. No. I say good for the victims that he tormented. All right? I say good for the taxpayers. Now we don't have to pay to house this guy for the rest of his life because he was convicted and he was going to go to jail for the rest of his life, right? And I say good for society because he served no good purpose of society, of the wrath that he put on society, what he did. So I say good. He did us all a favor, even though he took the easy way out, so, but let's say it's not allegedly anymore. He was convicted of all these crimes, so he did them. So,
the murder of his son Caleb's friend. Yeah. Some are saying that was his true undoing, but regardless, the crimes that were committed, many of us aren't really aware, and that's why I was at the depth of the impact he had on folks. And if you can share, great. If you can't, that's okay. It's just a reminder that we have those among us that are evil. And there we go. Yeah. Brother Steve.
Clearly, so his crimes and what he was doing was so serious that it rose to the level of getting our federal partners involved, right? Our federal partners got involved, and then within the county police department, I'm sure a lot of our specialized units were very familiar with him. Random story, back in 2011, 2010, I was running into him. I didn't even know who he was. We were working out at the same gym together. And I think I told you, Rick, or we've talked about this on the show, those men and women that wear the uniform, cops seem to know just by, how's this? If you do bad things and that's how you make your living, and then there's guys like us that do what we do, when you go into a public setting or you kind of are around each other, you can just kind of, I tell you right now, he knew exactly what I did for work, and I knew exactly that he was a problem. Now, I didn't know who he was at the time, Rick. I'm going back to 2011, 2012. We worked out at a gym that's no longer here. But he would eyeball me a little bit, and I would look right back at it. And we never talked. We never spoke together. But he knew what I did just by looking at me. And I didn't know the extent of who he was, and I wasn't antagonizing this guy. But I just looking at him, like you just know, like good guys, bad guys, there was something about him that I knew he was just, you said it, he just wasn't a good person. Mm-hmm. And to pass away in the federal detention facility, look, that's pretty secure over there. It's not like he's hanging out in OCCC that's overcrowded. The federal, generally on the federal side, you're probably going to get a little bit better accommodations. I'm sure that investigation is going to come out. I'm sure it'll be kept private. But when I was made aware that happened, to Mark's point, hey, you know what? Somebody that we don't have to house for the next, 30 years. And he was convicted. So we can talk like this about him. But I'll just tell you, when I ran into him, and I would see him regularly, and he would kind of try to stare me down. And I'm not saying I'm a tough guy. I'm just simply saying that cops know who the bad guys are, and the bad guys know kind of who the cops are. And we just kept it. We did what we needed to do in the gym, and that was it. But then when it comes out, and he caused a bunch of problems with the nightclub down there that he had. Gosh. The cops in D1 nights, it was a circus. So to Mark's point, your point, he caused a lot of, he used a lot of police resources. He was polluting our kids with narcotics. He did other things. So you know what? To Mark's point, good riddance. See you later. Yeah. Okay.
So, and we'll get to Brother Nick first. Just fair, unfair question. If we knew that he was permeating this community so badly, why was it necessary for the feds to have a presence to really ramp up and obtain the convictions? Because I know there are some folks that are probably going through their minds right now. Anybody like to take a shot?
So my thought would be that he probably got involved in organization of criminal activity to the point where it just elevated it to that level, and it took it out of our venue and put it in another venue. And that's actually just very simple. It just gets to a point where, another agency can get involved and will get involved. And the federal government's ability to prosecute is much different than the state's ability to prosecute. They have different procedures, they have different laws regarding evidence and so on. And so often from our experience, they're very happy to get involved with someone who's done crime on the local level, but just cross that threshold, and now they've gone federal. You had asked the question, what kind of impact did his actions have on our community at the lowest levels? Mm-hmm. So I can tell you from my experience in 2011, I did handle a case where, strangely enough, it had relevancy in his federal court case earlier this year. So at the time, it seemed kind of innocuous, almost impossible that this average everyday citizen was making this claim. But it turned out to be completely true, to the point where it had to come forward in the court proceeding, in the federal proceeding, in order to be a building block of part of this, nefarious syndicate, essentially, that he had built for himself.
It's I shared before we came on the air that, unbeknownst to me, that when I lived in Hawaii Kai, which, by the way, Hawaii Kai asked me to leave. I didn't have the right documentation. Hamada. I mean, they said, you got to go to Pearl City. Anyway. But the brief time we were there, downstairs neighbor was Mike Miske, which I had no idea about until a reporter, Ian Lind, contacted me and said, by the way, he lived downstairs. And I was shocked. But even living there, when you can look at somebody and know, not a full deck, he definitely emanated that. But in all fairness, never felt anything past that. There was never any encounters or words spoken or anything else. But I was compelled to move. And part of it was not knowing who he was, just the way they conducted themselves with the rest of the complex. And it's like 2 degrees of separation with this guy. My brother's in the pest control business. When he was in the pest control, he had a baby. So lots with this story. I asked you, first word, you said good. The first word I thought of was shivved. Without getting the details about the federal facility, I'm going, this is Epstein. I mean, he's got so many names and so many, and somebody gave the word. Now, that is pure fantasy or speculation, but that's a reaction I had. It's like, because February was his sentencing.
Yeah.
It was coming up very soon.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, Mike Miske no longer with us, and thank you for the info to help us put in more perspective. Takes us to the bottom of the hour. It is 7:32 in the morning. It is the SHOPO Hour, and thank you for being a part of the program. Short bottom of the hour news break, and we'll jump right back in to topicality.
It's the SHOPO Hour on News Radio 830 KHVH.
Once again, glad you're with us here. Whoa, I'm glad that went on the air. All right, it is once again a pleasure to be with you during the SHOPO Hour. Once again, National Kidney Foundation of Hawaii, they would appreciate your help, and you can learn more on how to do so at kidney.hi.org. They'll be featured on Sustaining Hawaii tomorrow at 8 o'clock. All right, guys, it is, we continue on our conversation regarding DUI, conversation about Miske, and we are delighted that Brother Bobby is in our studio today. Brother Bobby, good morning and good to see you.
Good morning, Rick. It's great to see you too. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Well, it's happier now because we got all the boys here. This is
I just want to say for the
treat.
record, he was late today, so it's going to go in his file. Okay.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Here we go.
And boy, that took 12 seconds.
Well, I took the rail, so that's why I'm late.
The FCC banned swearing on the air. But Brother Bobby, how you been?
Been doing good. Been real busy. Winding up the end of the year.
Yeah. What's been top of mind for you as president of SHOPO? Agenda-wise, what have you been tackling?
We just got a lot of stuff going on. Negotiations continues on a new contract, which ends next June. On Kauai, we're going to be signing a 312 schedule change for our members up there. It's going to start in January. Currently, they're on a 5-day, 9-hour schedule. Our leadership up in Kauai has worked really well with the Deputy Chief Ozaki and his staff on the agreement. So we're looking forward to that. Still have the hazard pay for our police officers in 3 of the 4 counties still pending. We had an offer come in on Kauai to settle. We're still going back and forth to try and settle that. Honolulu and the Big Island, we're still waiting and kind of going back and forth with both counties. The Big Island's going to arbitration. So a lot of stuff going on. We have our 4 general membership meetings in each county coming up. within the next couple of weeks. So a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, those of us who consume news, and we've chatted briefly in the past, Kauai especially, the status of the chief who had announced his resignation, but the date is a little further in the future. How does that mesh when you have negotiations, effect on morale for members, things of that nature? That little snapshot for us, please.
Well, probably the sooner the better in regards to moving the agency forward and having a fresh start. So, hopefully there's no date that's set in stone. However, the sooner the better. I think Kauai will definitely be better off. Yeah. They're going to hopefully start a search soon with the police commission, but Deputy Chief Ozaki and the Assistant Chiefs K and all of them, they're great. They're very willing to sit down and have a conversation and just go back and forth, share ideas in a common goal. So
good. The final part on it was the Kauai Police Commission declined to pursue any further investigations and consequences for some of the conduct of Chief Raybuck during his tenure, which is still underway. Did you find that unusual? Did you have feedback, SHOPO feedback on the decision-making process with the commission?
I didn't really find it unusual. I kind of had the mindset that that's what it was going to come back, just because it's hard to prove retaliation unless you have something really, hard evidence of it. And the basis of those claims were subjective to the decisions of what a police chief, does on a daily basis. Deny officers training or conferences to go to, which is what the substance of the complaint was. So we kind of knew that the commission, they'll probably take the other route on that as far as sustaining it.
Just curious, here at home, Honolulu, is there a presence of SHOPO at commission meetings? Is there regular interaction? And how would you describe the current relationship with the current commission?
With Honolulu, I think it's great. I just had lunch with Chair Silva and Vice Chair Okinaga last week.
Okay.
So we meet on a regular basis. We talk about, Chief Joe and his leadership and moving the department forward and the goals and the strategic plan to which our police officers, are striving towards. So I think the relationship is great. They're very open, can have a good conversation. So the relationship is very good.
It's already 7:44 in the morning. It is News Radio 830 KHVH. And again, for all the fellas in our studio today, but Bobby, particularly, the recent council hearings on the $1.5 million settlement in regard to the Ko'eloe. I can't stand this guy, by the way, of what transpired. But is there any update on this particular story?
Not that I know of. The only thing that we know is that it is going to be settled in court, and then decision by the jury. Present the case to the jury, and whatever the jury decides, then that's going to be the end, the be all end all.
Did the council by vote have an opportunity to squash this initiative, this suit?
I don't think they took it to a vote. I think Chair Waters came to a decision. I think his concern was that he didn't want to have kind of like an open court from both sides in a council hearing to try and debate facts and circumstances of a case and then have that determine which way the council went. So I think he took the safer road and said, hey, let's not discuss this at the hearing. Let's just move this into the judicial venue and then adjudicate it that way.
Okay. By the way, Tommy's a lawyer, so it kind of makes sense that he would do that. It is, once again, the SHOPO Hour, and glad that all are with us. Crime Stoppers I'd like to get your take on the role, the mission, and the effectiveness of Crime Stoppers in assisting by engaging the public. There's a regular segment on Hawaii News Now as an example, but we've brought up Crime Stoppers in the past, but it's been a bit. Just like to get a refreshment of their role, responsibility, and your thoughts. And all the boys, please, Nick or...
Well, we know that Crime Stoppers is a national organization. I believe it's a nonprofit. And for HPD, I believe it's Sergeant Chris Kim.
Yes.
He has that. He also has some social media and some interviews. Sergeant Charge, and he kind of leads Crime Stoppers and for the department. But Crime Stoppers, I think, is a great tool for the department to solve cases. To have an anonymous resource for the community to give tips on solving cases.
So is it a commingling of local HPD plus others such as volunteers, or you mentioned national organization, other members participating that are part of Crime Stoppers? I'm just thinking of structure, et cetera, of how it works. Mark, sorry.
It's a private organization. However, Sergeant Chris Kim, he is a liaison for the department to Crime Stoppers.
Okay.
Right? So there's a lot of volunteers involved. When I was a detective, I've used them. I mean, awesome organization. Mm-hmm. They do a lot of they do a lot of good for the community. They do a lot of good fundraising. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have a couple times a year to have some big fundraising. But like I said, it's a really, really good organization for the community. So, but I think it is private. Like I said, we have a liaison assigned, which would be Sergeant Chris Kim.
Gotcha.
It's the SHOPO Hour on News Radio 830 KHVH.
All right, all mics are on. And our first karaoke song of the morning, led by Brother Nick.
YMCA.
No. Baby Got Back with Brother Nick.
The country western version.
That's right. Must have been a Beyonce cut, I guess.
Nick and Posty.
I love that. I love that. Holiday season officially upon us. We started the program in regard to our DUI discussion. And I just want to reaffirm, don't do it. That's all I'm going to say. But I want to go back around because we're already coming up to the top of the hour. I'm going to restart with Bobby. Top of mind that you'd like to share, and then we'll go around the table and make sure that we have everybody on board. So, Bobby, aside from what we already discussed, what would you like to share today?
Well, it's the holiday seasons. Top of mind comes to the officers that were killed in the line of duty. They're not with us here anymore. A recent case being attempted murder that occurred in town where a girlfriend shot or allegedly shot the boyfriend that was sitting in the car. And then officers of District 8 Kapolei arrested her out by the Coral Sea area in Kalailoa. And that female was involved in Bronson Kaliloa's murder on the Big Island. Oh. She was the either acquaintance or ex-girlfriend of Justin Waikiki, who had murdered Bronson. So, she served her 6 years that she was sentenced for that engagement that she was involved in back in 2018. She's out now and, still up to no good. So glad that the prosecutors were able to charge that case. But just going back and seeing their relationship and people who are still here brings back, memories of Bronson and other officers who are not here. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that some folks are shaking their head that she's even out. Just, but thank you for reminding us, Brother Nick. If you'd like to share, and we'll get to brothers Mark and Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Happy holidays, first of all. Happy Pearl Harbor Day coming up this weekend. So remember Pearl Harbor and Memorial. Also, just because it's December doesn't mean that the work doesn't stop. Police departments in all 4 counties will still be out there. We'll be doing our enforcement like we should, and I would encourage all departments to remember that we still have to stay vigilant during the holiday season. There's always work to be done, and just because Christmas is coming up doesn't mean the bad guys are going to stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Before we, I got to ask you, because I'm going to find out just how enmeshed Brother Nick and I are in the most important things in life. And this one, holiday movies. I'm thinking of one. Brother Nick, your favorite holiday movie would be?
Well, Christmas Story is a good one.
Keep going.
Doggone it.
Keep going. You're almost there.
I'm almost there. Little Ralphie.
I can hear it.
No.
I thought you would say Elf.
Oh, no.
Because that's like kind of in your zip code.
Oh.
Because Brother Nick's middle name is Zany, right?
Zany.
Is that so?
No, I'm more of a you'll shoot your eye out kind of guy.
Focusing on the one act of violence that Christmas Story had. There we go. Thank you, Brother Nick. Thank you. Brother Mark, final thoughts for today, please.
Well, I'll just stay with the narrative. It's a holiday season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Please watch the way you drive. A lot of parties. If you're drinking, like we covered, earlier in the show, Uber, Lyft, taxi, and just have patience. You got to have patience on the road, have patience in the stores. Just, hey, it's going to be a lot of people out there. The road's going to be crowded. A store's going to be crowded. You got to have patience,
Yeah,
just let it go. Let it go.
All right. Okay.
Just have another Fireball, Rick.
But was that an offer or?
Just saying, calm your nerves.
Just this would. So went to the Blue Note. Great concert. The parade was the same night. So the parade wrapped up. We were at the late show. Just walking down Kalakaua. 2 e-bikes. We're walking this way. They jump up on the sidewalk. And Tourist Central, too. And just start plowing through on e-bikes, doing the pylon drive with people. And I just wanted to reach out and just... But then I heard Mark say patience.
No, you can't fix stupid either, so...
But that's the kind of stuff that just...
I know.
Drives you nuts.
And then Christmas vacation for me, all right?
Christmas vacation. Nice. Oh, man. Wow. I think Rotten Tomatoes gave that a negative 74, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, absolutely. Good one. Good one. Brother Steve.
Yeah, Rick, I think next week maybe we could touch on e-bikes. We could have some comments on that. The holiday season, people get stressed. It's supposed to be a time where people come together and have a good time, but sometimes in preparing for that, people's tempers and things get a little stressed. I just find myself trying to be reflective for the smaller things. Be grateful for what you have, especially the relationships. We talk on the program about death and dying, and I think remembering that it's the little things sometimes in life that are the sweetest, and really cherish the moments that you have with people, and really value those interpersonal times with people.
Yeah. Happened over this holiday weekend, and they're not as often as I would like them to be because of schedules and all that, but make time.
Yeah.
Make the time. That's one thing. We talk about control. You do have control over your time, and just put it to good use. And your favorite holiday movie would be?
Amen. Anything with Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, how's it going to be bad? I'm with Mark. I'm sorry. Chevy Chase makes me laugh. It really does. I don't know. Spies Like Us.
Yes.
Especially when he's taking the test. When he's taking the test with the eye patch. Come on. If you can't laugh at that kind of stuff.
Let's face it. Chevy Chase.
You know, her. Come on. Oh, that's too funny.
He hit his plateau with Caddyshack.
Sure. Yep.
Anything else he did after, that's pretty good. Bobby, favorite film, holiday movie, before we go.
Home Alone.
Yeah, had to hit us with kids. We were doing fine with a bunch of drunken adults, and now you get the little boy. That's good stuff. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for today. And always, we are back on Monday. And have a great week, fellas.
Thanks,
Thank
Rick.
you.